we have another body part to discuss
Yes.
that is also more concerning than Nick Bosa's knee, and it's Emmanuel Moseley's hamstring. Emmanuel Moseley missed the first 8 practices on the COVID list, came back, played really well. But when a guy misses 8 practices, I'm always wondering, like, what's going to happen when you play 4 or 5 practices? Are you going to hurt yourself? He hurt himself. He pulled his hamstring. And that, I don't know how bad it is, but it's the kind of thing that can linger all season. And today, in his place, starting at cornerback, was Dante Johnson, who he's like about 32. He's 30. He's been on the team a lot of times. He's basically a backup special teams guy. And when he has started for the Niners, they've generally lost because he's not that good. It's very similar to the situation at left tackle, except it's now at cornerback, which is a very important position. We've been talking about this all offseason, Dad, and now we said they're one injury away in the backfield from having a situation. They got a situation.
Yeah, again, it's such an important unit, like offensive line, and yet they haven't tried hard to get depth there. So they're at the mercy of a pulled hamstring. Iggy, I have a question.
Yeah.
When Moseley pulled his hamstring, did you see it happen?
I didn't. No, he was running. All I noticed was he was off the field, and I figured, I guess, they want to make Jimmy Garoppolo look good or something like that because nope, Moseley got hurt. And I remember he got beat deep. It must have been on that play, but I didn't see him grab it, or I just didn't see it happen.
Now, what I've always felt, again, I never had the trainers that they have, but to me, hamstring is a 3-week injury.
Yep.
Generally, unless he tore something.
Right.
Seriously tore something. It's
right.
a 3-week injury. So, and plus they can make it shorter. They have all kind of, apparatus and stuff like that. Currently, I wouldn't think that the sky is falling down.
No.
But you have to monitor it.
Absolutely. And I think part of the reason he pulled his hamstring is because he missed 8 days of camp, and now he's going to miss 3 weeks. And what happened last year with like Debo Samuel, broke his foot, missed time, came back, pulled his hamstring. Worked hard to come back, pulled his hamstring. Right. That's how it can go. So if he's going to be in and out in the lineup, the Niners have a big problem. I don't want to be doom and gloom, but the Niners don't have as big a margin for error in the secondary and the offensive line. And I hate to keep bringing it back to Jimmy, but it's because they're spending $27 million on him. You can't have depth everywhere when you have the 5th highest paid player in the league. So that's the bargain they made. And they do have depth at quarterback, which is the most important position. So at least they got that going.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's answer some questions. Scott says, why does the Bay Area media market tend to not be overly combative in press conferences, Dad? You could write a dissertation on this.
Interesting question. Let's first of all take out the adjective overly.
Yes.
Try not to be combative.
Yes.
Or I would say assertive and trying to speak to get power to answer honestly, as opposed to not, which they want to do. I think a lot of it is the people in the Bay Area are from the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. And what people in the Bay Area are taught to do is to be pleasant.
Yes.
And to avoid conflict.
Yes.
Now, Iggy grew up in Oakland, but he's my kid. And so he saw me, I don't mean in press conferences, it's how I am. I'm a New Yorker. Mm-hmm. We are extremely assertive, especially verbally. From the time you're 5 years old, you're talking a lot of crap. Yeah. And it's how we are. So I may have been overly aggressive, but I wasn't trying to be. It's simply how I am. And a lot of it is cultural. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that when I would be in the thousands of press conferences that I was in, I would feel frustrated sometimes at how weak and deferential the questions were, especially to powerful people, team owners, mm-hmm. Things like to Jed York, where I always had asked him, why don't you fire yourself? I had no problem doing that. It's how I think. And I want you to know, Ira Miller was a much more aggressive questioner than I was and am. And Ira is also he's not from New York City. His grandparents lived in Brooklyn, but he grew up a little bit out of the city. But Ira has the same mentality as me. And I believe if you were in a market like New York or Philly, there'd be 100 of me.
Yeah. That's how it is. Good question. Brett says, what does Kyle need to see from Trey to start him? That's a good question. I have a theory. I don't think it's necessarily Kyle. I could be wrong, I think the issue is he's got to get the whole locker room behind him. And a lot of players like Jimmy. I mean, Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, Mike McGlinchey. A lot of people really like Jimmy. And I think it's one thing for Kyle to say, this kid gives us the best chance. But what if half the team disagrees? That's a problem. So I think they kind of need Jimmy to go out and fail. Maybe that's why they would start him week 1. If everyone sees Jimmy failing, then they'll say, okay, let's all give the kid a chance. That way there's no split.
I like that. I think your answer is very good. And in fact, what you're saying is, in this case, Kyle has to be subtle and be a diplomat.
It's not just what he wants, because he could lose the locker room. He could be wrong. He got to be careful here. And I think what you could say is, even if I feel that Trey Lance gives us the better chance to win, let's start Jimmy Garoppolo and let the team see it let's let it play out and let the team see it for itself. Fair. Good question, Brett. Robert says, Lowell is such a New Yorker. Screw you. Be aggressive. Come back harder. Love Lowell. Yeah, hell yeah.
Thank you.
And not just a New Yorker, but he's from Brooklyn. All right. Barris Soze, who might be related to Kaiser Soze, I don't know, says, love these father-son chop sessions, fellas. Keep up the good work. How likely is Jonas Griffith to make the team and get playing time? You don't know about Jonas Griffith. He's an undrafted free agent linebacker. They got him last year. I've been talking to Coach Noah Johnson, who comes on my show on Fridays, loves him, thinks he's a lot like Fred Warner, tall, long arms. I think he's definitely going to make the team. I don't know if he's going to get playing time, but good question. He's supposed to be good. Rafi says, Mr. Cohn, what similarities do you see in Lance and Young, e.g. current situation and physical abilities?
I'm not as familiar with Lance as I am obviously with Steve, but I can tell you that when Steve came in, he was not a throwing quarterback, and it used to drive McKittrick crazy. He used to tell me, my offensive linemen don't know what to do. They're lining up to protect him, and he's running or running out and throwing or running, and we don't know what to do. He used to really piss McKittrick off because McKittrick told me, and Bill finally said to him, son, if you want to be a quarterback in this league, you got to learn to throw. So I think probably Trey Lance is ahead of Steve, where Steve was.
Also, Trey Lance is in a much better spot. Steve was in Tampa at this point.
Well, I'm talking when he came to the Niners.
Right, absolutely. I'm just saying, when Steve was a young man, he had to go to some terrible teams. He had to find the right spot. And he, I don't know, he might have been able to have success early on, but he got to sit behind Joe Montana and learn from a Hall of Famer. Trey Lance isn't learning from a Hall of Famer. That's too bad. Right. No Joe Montana.
And in Tampa, they like Vinny Testaverde better than him. I don't think so.
Yeah. So I do think they're built similarly. They may have look, if Trey Lance can be anywhere near the quarterback Steve Young was, that'd be great. Steve, I don't know if some of you kids don't remember Steve Young, but he was freaking great. Top 10 quarterback of all time.
And I'll say another thing about Steve. I think he's a sensitive person. In fact, he's a lovely person, but he has a will of iron. He was simply not going to accept no.
Right. Yeah, good point. Donald says, hey, Grant, do you think the offensive issues are individual talent issues or a whole unit meshing with each other issues? I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure they have offensive issues yet. We haven't seen that much. Jimmy Garoppolo threw 4 passes. I'm not sure they have offensive issues yet. But usually at this point in the offseason, it's a whole unit meshing with each other issues because they've only been practicing for 3 weeks, and it takes offense is all about timing and choreography as opposed to defense, which is all about creating chaos. So maybe it's the second part. Thanks for the question and the donation. Tony says, Trent has one of the most expensive sets of knees in NFL history. Well, I hope they last long for the Niners' sake. Jeremy says, off topic, if Jimmy has his best season yet and wins, Grant is responsible for motivating him. Dad, what if Jimmy does what he did in 2019 and just starts on like an 8-game winning streak, keeps the job, goes deep in the playoffs? What do?
You ride the horse.
You ride the horse.
And the other kid's 21 and he waits.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Very interesting. Seth says, only at the mercy of O-line if Trey isn't playing. Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to mention. But it's not just that Jimmy could get benched by halftime. He could get hurt if Trent Williams isn't out there. I really feel like the pocket is a very dangerous place. 2 Niners quarterbacks got hurt there last year. I wouldn't trust my kid in the pocket. I'm anti-pocket. Matt H says, do the Lance design runs look similar to the Ravens? Very much so. Yes, absolutely. Very much so. Raymond Martinez Jr. says it seems that the first round investments in the D line through multiple drafts have compromised the O line. Does the O line hold the team back this season? Yeah, the Niners have spent all those top draft picks on D line, not O line. Does the O line hold the team back this season? The depth could. I don't know if the depth is so bad. If any one starter misses a game, you got a big problem. That's the problem. I think we got one more. Last one. Team is only as good as the worst lineman on both sides of the ball. Should we honestly think this team will be good? Doesn't matter who's the quarterback. It's an interesting thought. What if both quarterbacks struggle this year, Dad? What if could happen?
Both quarterbacks struggle, then you got a problem.
Then you got a big problem.
They're still having a problem.
Yeah, I thank you for it. That's true. You got that one right. Anything else you want to do? You got any questions for me? We got about,
I do.
Well, go ahead.
Did we do all our topics?
We did all our topics. Answered all the questions.
Iggy, I watch your videos and you do the the quarterbacks and you say this is his day and so and so ran a dig route. And could you say what some of these things are? What's a dig route?
Okay, a dig route is a guy runs about 10 to 15 yards upfield and makes a 90-degree cut over the middle.
I see. And it's like he's digging in his foot so he can make the cut.
You could call it an in route. You could call it an in route, but it's different than like a slant, where a slant is you make the cut, you make the break much sooner, and it's like a 45-degree angle as opposed to 90.
Okay. Yeah. What's a skinny post?
A skinny post is like a slant, but you make the break much deeper down the field. So it's another 45-degree cut, but it's a deeper route.
Curl route.
Curl route is usually by a wide receiver outside, and he runs maybe 10 yards and turns back to the inside, but facing the quarterback. The comeback route is when you run about 17 yards and turn the other way. So if it's like turn towards the sideline, it depends which way do you turn, towards the middle of the field or towards the sideline. Do you feel me? Can you visualize it? So the comeback is when you go deeper and turn towards the sideline. The curl is the shorter one. That's usually from wide receivers. And you got the stick route, which is unique to the tight end. That's when he just runs like 6 yards forward and turns around. That's a classic play on 2nd and 10 when you need to get back into 3rd and manageable.
That's a stick route.
Stick route. Yeah. Remember we used to talk about that with Harbaugh? Remember when
he used to,
yeah, like it was that one game where Vernon Davis had 0 catches. And instead of saying, how come you couldn't get the ball to Vernon? I said, well, how come you never called my stick? And he's like, I did. I called it once, but I like that you asked the question that way. And we were always cool after that.
Harbaugh was cute. I got to say.
I liked him. Yeah. He was cute. Yeah.
He was really cute.
Yeah.
He had, he could be so strange sometimes, but
moody.
He had a twinkle in his eye.
Yeah.
And he's so smart. He could, he's not a New Yorker. He went to Palo Alto High School, but he could keep up. He loved it. I remember one time we were in a Monday. We used to be in that little room in the defensive lineman room, whatever. And remember, and I couldn't get his attention. And I went, Jim. And he went, Lowell. Were you there? Okay?
Yes, absolutely.
And he and I looked at each other and we just got such a laugh.
He loved you so much. The last year, he would go on the radio and he would just bring you up. Did you read the Great Lowell Cohn's latest column? He would call you the Great Lowell Cohn all the time. I've never seen a coach publicly express admiration and adoration for you like that ever. It was amazing.
Yeah. I thought he was terrific.
Yeah. Yeah, I think vice versa.
And, I think Kyle could learn a little bit from him about, I can't say diplomacy because you can't say he's diplomatic, but about how to present himself.
I don't know if you'd say that either. Harbaugh was an enigma. We got along with him, though. Remember Harbaugh was the guy at the Super Bowl that wouldn't dress up? Remember they had that, him and his brother went in the soup and Harbaugh went in like, the $5 khakis that he always wear. I was like, dude,
he looked like he came out of the hamper.
He was eccentric. He was quite eccentric.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Dad.
Okay. Well, this was really nice, Iggy. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I liked our debate. Our debates are they're like non-debates. You say your side, I say our side. We both say you made good points. I like what you said. Anyway, that's how we do. Thanks for watching, everyone. Tomorrow's an off day. I'll be streaming in the morning, and then I'll be flying down to Costa Mesa at night, and I'll be watching practice with the Chargers. Very interesting. Looking forward to it.
I got one other thing to say.
What?
I love you, Iggy.
I love you too, Dad. I'll call you right now.